Okay, hello. What's happening? Um, okay, so I just did something I never thought I would do. I shouldn't say I would never do. Something that I like to do, that I've discovered is watch shows, TV shows that I don't really have an interest in, but have kind of some kind of popular fan base, kind of thing. I like to watch them even if I'm not motivated to and see what they're all about. The Walking Dead was a show that I had less than zero interest in. But I thought, you know what? It's on Netflix. I'm going to put it on while I'm working, get stuff done, and it's just like morbid curiosity. I want to see what it's all about. You know what I mean? And see what do people see in this show. I'm not normally into a zombie thing. Any zombie thing. I'm tired of zombies, but I watched that show just out of like morbid curiosity. Like, what do people see in this? I didn't used to be that way. I was really closed-minded. Like, I would see something and I'd be like, this is fucking stupid. No thanks. But now I'm open-minded. I like to see that stuff and just get that perspective. So, I figured, well, I did that for The Walking Dead. I watched all of The Walking Dead. And I thought, well, I'm going to watch some other stuff now, some stuff that I actually have a desire to see, and then I'm going to check out Game of Thrones. I'm finally going to give it its fair shake. People are always raving about it. I never liked it. I should clarify that I saw some of Game of Thrones back when it started airing around 2011 or 2012 or whenever, when the first season was done. I did watch the first season, because it's like, you know what, everyone's going nuts about it. Actually, maybe I'd give it a couple of years, but regardless, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. It doesn't look like my thing. My thing was, with fantasy, when it comes to fantasy stuff, I'm talking like kingdoms and dragons and stuff, I tend to, unless it's J.R.R., the basic way of saying it is, if it's not J.R.R. Tolkien, it's not official. You know what I mean? In the world of fantasy, to me, high fantasy, if it's going to be like dragons flying around and stuff or whatever, it's got to be J.R.R. Tolkien, or I just don't care. So the Game of Thrones thing, like I was never into like Skyrim, or I was never into just stuff of that ilk, I just wasn't interested. And also, some of it that I saw seemed like it was kind of trying a little hard to be shocking or whatever. But I watched the first season not long after it aired, and yeah, I hated it. I didn't really like it. I thought it was kind of just vulgar for the sake of vulgar, and it didn't really like come together into something that really piqued my interests. They keep talking about dragons, and I'm like, yeah, okay, some dragons are going to show up. We know that's coming. All right, there they are. Great. All right, fine. It just didn't really like resonate in any kind of meaningful way. So I just went, yep, I was right. This sucks. Not going to ever check that out again. But as the show has been getting closer to its final season, of course, as of recording this, it hasn't aired its final, 6 episodes, I think. I thought, well, you know what? You gave a shot to The Walking Dead. Give Game of Thrones its fair shake, because look how big this show is. It's the biggest show HBO's ever had, supposedly. It's the big, I'm not going to say supposedly. Fuck it. It is. It's just hard. It's inconceivable for me to picture something bigger than The Sopranos. But, I'm Italian. I'm Italian. Enough said. But anyway, so I didn't really know kind of what to make of it, but I just thought, you know what, give it a shot, barge it, even if you hate it, watch it all, and then you could kind of give a consensus on it and talk about it on the podcast and stuff like that. Okay, so I watched it all, and now that I've seen it, I enjoyed it. I actually did. Season 1, I still hated. I didn't like it even a little bit. I don't think more than, well, maybe a little bit. I shouldn't say that. I think I liked it a little bit more than I did before. I kind of absorbed its world maybe a little bit more watching it for a second time. I barely remembered it from the first time I saw it. But yeah, I absorbed kind of what was going on in that world a little bit more. I didn't care for season 1 or 2 So I started to get worried. I'm like, dude, am I in for some painful hours ahead? But season 1, I just kind of felt, and I think I tweeted about this about like halfway through watching the show. I felt like I started to enjoy it. You know, I'm going to say at the end of season 2, some cool stuff started to happen around when they were, you know, I don't know if I'm spoiling stuff in this video. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones while you're watching this, but when they had that whole battle in the, like when the ships were coming in and they beat them with the wildfire and they set them on, you know, the green flames and all that shit were popping off. That was exciting. And the battle that kind of ensued after that was when, you know, Tyrion kind of didn't get credit for what he did with that war and how he led the men to victory and stuff. So I kind of started to feel bad for him. Like, oh, man. Oh, dude. But prior to that, I kind of felt like everyone was just an asshole and I didn't care. But, no, once that happened, once that kind of all went underway, I was like, oh, dude, I'm feeling bad about Tyrion. I already liked Peter Dinklage, and I didn't hate I didn't necessarily hate his character, but that was when I was actually sympathetic for him. It took a couple seasons for me to actually connect to what was going on, in a way that I hadn't before. And so then at that point, season 3, I really liked, and season 4 I thought was legit a fantastic season of a TV show. Prior to that season, I thought the show was good, but I thought it was kind of good in that it's trashy kind of way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to watch True Blood, like, and I got mocked for that all the time, but I liked it because, I mean, it was garbage. It was. But it was trashy, but with great continuity. And characters you kind of cared about, you know? So I enjoyed that show. Mock me all you want. I enjoyed it. It was campy and stupid, and I liked that. Game of Thrones, you know, when I was few seasons in, kind of hit me the same way. I'm like, I see why this is entertaining. It's thrilling, but it's trashy. And, you know, trashy is cool. It's fun. Trashy can be fun. I totally get it. But season 4 of the show was where it actually hit me like, okay, damn, this is a pretty damn good TV show. Forget the trashy connotation and all that stuff. It's actually, like, entertaining. I thought season 4 was the best mix of solid, good character stuff mixed with the blockbuster action, you know? And that's important to me, you know? One of my favorite shows of all time is Lost, and ironically enough, season 4 of that show was my favorite, where it hit that perfect level of, like, heartfelt character stuff and sci-fi things getting weird. It didn't dip too far one or the other. Other seasons didn't have that balance so good. And I kind of felt the same way about Game of Thrones. Season 4 had the balance. For me, the highlights of the show to me are, you know, again, the real heavy inner, you know, character stuff. For me, you know, season 4 ending with, there was kind of that whole battle for them to hold Castle Black against the wildlings or whatever, and that was so thrilling to watch. It was so well directed for TV. It was so well done, and that was thrilling. But really, for me, the main event was when Tyrion went back home and saw Shay with in the bed of his father, Tywin. I've watched this all in one go. Okay, so names are still blurry to me a little bit, but Tywin Lannister, you know, Shay was in his bed, and him having to, like, deal with that, and he strangled her, and, you know, her kind of never knowing that the only reason Tyrion was ever mean to her was because he wanted her to run. He wanted her to leave and be safe, and her never knowing that and only trying to get back at him and dying that way. That whole situation was so fucked up. Like, that was Shakespearean, and I loved it. And it going a step further to then Tywin dying on the toilet and all that. That was just Shakespeare level to me, and I love that. But let me actually rant about that for 1 second. Him dying on the toilet or what? I didn't know that. What a way for that character to go, and what a shock. But I remember specifically when this show was airing, and this is a grievance I have with just some people out there, and maybe you feel this way too. But when I was not watching the show, but I remember a few years in, I think it was Derek and Sean here at the office. Well, it was a different office, but I remember them saying, people don't know how to not fucking spoil something. People don't get it that this shit that they think isn't a spoiler is a spoiler. And I remember specifically reading what they were talking about. Someone online said, well, I'm not going to spoil Game of Thrones, but all I'm going to say is you better be careful on the toilet. Better not go to the bathroom. Better not take a shit. That totally sucked the tension out of that scene. So when I watched it, it was still, don't get me wrong, that was still a great story point, but when Tyrion goes in that bathroom and he's got that crossbow and he's looking at Tywin on the throne, porcelain throne, whatever. Any question, honestly, you want to have that tension of like, there's no way Tyrion is going to shoot his own dad, right? There's no way he would do that. And what an undignified way to go for Tywin. I can't picture that. But it fucking happens. This fucking guy, whoever wrote that on the internet, totally sucks the tension out of that. As soon as Tyrion walked in the room and homeboy was on the toilet, I was like, oh, he's gonna shoot him. That's it. He's dead. Don't fucking write that stuff. This stuff that you write is... I'm not going to spoil anything, but just don't write it. Just don't. Anyway, that's a tangent, whatever. But incredible regardless. That was really that was a moment where I really went, okay, this is a fucking good TV show. Damn, I didn't expect that. But that juxtaposed against all the kind of heavy shit going on and whatever was really great. Season 4 was amazing. Season 5, I didn't like quite as much, but it was still good. I was still entertained by it. I didn't really love... I liked the idea... they had that whole religious cult that, they made Cersei do the Walk of Shame and all that stuff. I liked the idea that there was something that even the kingdom itself could not, by its own hand, defeat. I liked that even they had something they had to swear to and, kind of behave around. I dug that. But I wasn't really fascinated by the cult or whatever I guess they weren't a cult, whatever they were themselves. Every time they were on, they kind of just said the same stuff, oh, you talk about your sins. Okay. Yeah. I got that, but it led to some cool moments. The Cersei thing was kind of cool. I could tell they superimposed her on someone else's body, but otherwise, yeah, it was cool. I dug it. But I liked season 6 a lot more. Season 6 was back into territory that I enjoyed. I thought 6 was better than 5. Loved the Hodor thing, the hold the door situation. Kind of was tipped off to that before, because I wasn't really hiding from spoilers before. I was kind of tipped off to that, but the way it played out was interesting, and really kind of Lost-esque a little bit. So I love that. That's my jam. Shit with consciousness and time or whatever. You always got me. So I really dug that. I thought season 6 was a great season. I believe that also had the Battle of the Bastards in it. And, it was the first season, I believe, you tell me if I'm wrong, that I think it diverted from the book material. And I know I had some friends that were kind of back and forth on that. Season 6, though, I thought, yeah, it was a little more off to the races, like in terms of answering shit and everything kind of colliding. And season 7, that was pretty much Game of Thrones the movie, kind of like it's just blockbuster. And see, like I said before, I kind of like more of a balance of the kind of really personal character stuff and the blockbustery big action shit. I like a good balance. Season 7, the most recent batch of episodes that aired, didn't quite have that balance, but the way I see it is the show's concluding. They know it. And at some point, shit has to hit the fan. All the shit has to hit the fan. So I could see what my friends were saying, because a lot of my friends felt like season 7 was a little too much fan service, I guess you want to say, like payoff. Like, what'll the fans really like? What do they really want to see? Rather than the kind of bitter, cold nature of George R.R. Martin's writings, where they were more kind of like, no, you don't get this. We're going to kill that guy before you get anything from them, or before you get what you want out of that character, you know. So I could see that, and I also see the cool aspect of it, which is like, hey, it's wrapping up, so shit is hitting the fan. This is what it was all leading to. Big ass war, big ass conclusive battles, you know. I see both sides, you know, and there's good and bad about it. I do wish there was more kind of, I wish I was kind of disappointed in a good way, maybe a little more in this last season. But I will say, season 6, the Battle of the Bastards, that was rad, totally cool. Made even better by the fact that it was followed up by Cersei nukes those fucking religious dudes. That was awesome. Great payoff to that. But, you know, Ramsay Bolton was a character like, you know, you had Joffrey, he was an asshole, and you know, they paid off Joffrey. They fucking got him. That was really satisfying to see that fucker just, you know, in front of everybody. They really played that well. They drew it out, and you know, and he's, you know, they got all those little moments in there, like, you know, look at me, and, you know, I'm so great, and, you know, he chops that pie in half with the birds in it, and for a brief second, you see these fucking people sweep away the dead birds that were still inside the pie. That was such great little pieces of directing that made it like, look at the fucking disgusting support system keeping this kid alive. And then, in a moment's notice, that support system is gone. And he fucking chokes, you know, right there, and everyone's looking, and it's just like he had, you know, this was all hanging on by a thread, and that thread fucking broke. Like, I just thought the payoff to that was so good, especially later when you, you know, Jaime Lannister gets told who did it. Such great payoff. So good. Now, Ramsay Bolton was a character I hated even more than Joffrey. He was such a fucking asshole. He was such a, you know, this whole kind of like Stockholm Syndrome thing he inflicted on what's his name? Greyjoy. Blanking out. I told you I watched this all in one go, so. But anyway. Yeah, so, Reek. Is that what they call him now? But anyway. Yeah, so, where was I going? Oh, yeah, so, so I hated this Ramsay Bolton guy, and I'm like, fuck, it's gonna be so satisfying when this guy gets his ass fucking kicked. Like, I'm counting the seconds until it happens. Make it happen. I want it to happen. And then, when it happened, we had the Battle of the Bastards. Incredible sequence, incredible episode. Everything about it was great. They fucking make their way to Ramsay, and Jon Snow is beating the shit out of him. I'm like, thank you, God, somebody steps to this guy, finally. And then he kind of, you know, he looks at Sansa and kind of has that look like, hey, this ain't my fight. Like, this is up to you. Like, this guy did unspeakable shit to you. You know, you kind of handle this. And it was so not satisfying, this fucking, like, not that Sansa taking care of this dude wasn't satisfying. I mean, she, for all intents and purposes, should, but, like, they put him in this cage with the dogs, and you got these, like, green screen or CGI dogs, and they bite, and then, you know, there's, like, this gag in the episode, I haven't fed my dogs in a week, you know, they're gonna eat you, and then she says it back to him, like, you said you hadn't fed your dogs in a week. That to me was just kind of, and she's, like, somewhere outside. It just, the whole thing was very, like, not a great payoff. To me, like, I wanted something real personal, like, real, like, you know, I didn't talk about the Red Wedding a minute ago. I knew that was coming, like, I knew all about the Red Wedding, and I still was shocked by that. I didn't know it involved who it did. Like, I knew, what's her name, Catelyn Stark was gonna get, I remember her, got killed. But I didn't really know everyone else at that point when I had heard about the Red Wedding. So seeing a pregnant woman stabbed in the, like, that whole thing was like, oh, damn. I didn't know it took place where it did, when it did. I was still caught off guard by it. When Arya Stark goes back and kills the fucking dude that was responsible for the Red Wedding, that was such a great payoff. That happens later. When was that? Season 6? Beginning of 7? Maybe it was beginning of 7? I don't remember. She bakes the fucking sons into a pie or whatever, and then she fucking guts that dude and then poisons everyone else. My God, it was so like up close and personal. It was so like, this is the revenge that I've been exacting for all this time, and I did it. With Ramsay Bolt, again, it was just these like CGI dogs, and you didn't even really get to see what happened. It was just kind of corny, like the whole gag. You said you hadn't fed your dogs. Like that to me was kind of an example of the show trying to deliver what like a blockbuster movie would do versus something that George R.R. Martin would write. Seems like it would be maybe not exactly what you wanted, but like maybe it's a good, like, I feel like it's a lot more cute than kind of like grisly and real like the show was before. So, that's something I complained about. I didn't think that was satisfying, just personally. But still great episode. Still like season 6, and I enjoyed season 7, but like I said, I do feel like the character stuff is kind of not there as much anymore. But what can I say? I still enjoy the hell out of it. Them going over the wall to get the, to bring a White Walker back or whatever, to Cersei, that episode is incredible. There's some fucking amazing stuff in it, but we are in a point in the show where, again, like I mentioned, this shit's hitting the fan. So, things are going to happen at an accelerated rate. I accept that. But I also do think it's weird. It's like, the thing that I liked about the show was that, like Jaime Lannister, they need to bring him back to Cersei, and it takes like 3 fucking seasons. Like these vast expanses take years to cross, and like things take years to pay off, and I love all that. Season 7, they're over the wall, and they see the White Walkers within 5 minutes. They send a crow or a raven or whatever for help, and it's back. It goes to Daenerys, and she's showing up within like 10 minutes. It's just like, wow, we're really moving fast now. So that I could see, again, I see what my friends are saying, that's a little bit like kind of takes away from it in that regard. But again, the show's at its endgame now, so I also accept that it's going to accelerate, so I take it back. So, I kind of go both ways about it, but somebody said online, and it cracked me up, if ravens were that fast, like they were in the last season of Game of Thrones, why would we ever invent internet? And I thought that was pretty funny, because really, it was like they practically texted Daenerys, and she was there. But, whatever, still an entertaining episode. I know, like I said, it's wrapping up, things are going to go boom, and go at a rapid rate, fine. But, anyway, I got a kick out of it, and I liked how it ended, and all that stuff. In terms of characters, of course, I like Jon Snow. I knew something happened with him dying or whatever, but that was kind of, interesting or whatever. I thought legitimately scary scene in the show. It's rare that a TV show actually makes me go like, fuck, I'm scared to go to bed. Like, it definitely happened in Twin Peaks, episode 8 of the new Twin Peaks. Scared the shit out of me. But, in this, the only other thing I could think of was this show when the Red Woman, whatever her name is, I forget, takes her crown off, and she was like actually an old woman. That was fucking scary. That whole sequence was like terrifying. Tyrion is probably my favorite character, but I really grew to like Davos. I really like Davos and Jorah. Love both those guys. Real like honorable dudes. I really like that. Daenerys is cool. People would kind of tell me like, oh, I love Daenerys because she's badass. She's badass bitch. Yeah, I would see people say that a lot, but I kind of don't feel that way. I feel like it's her dragons that do all this shit. Like, but that's not to take away from her. I love her character specifically because she's in a position where she kind of has to be an Iron Fist, and she isn't. Like she wants the world to just be good and like be cool, and everyone be cool too, and she doesn't, and she finds it's not that easy. She's trying to do right by all these people and be like, hey, I want everything to be peaceful and good for everybody, and it's not that simple. People show up and they're like, cool, well, you crucified all these dudes for doing wrong, but one of them was my dad, and I have to look at my dad every day, and it's painful. It's like, no matter what you do, you're causing somebody pain. I liked the plight of her character because she kind of doesn't want to be this ruthless thing, and she kind of has to be at certain points, and I liked the struggle. I think just saying she's a badass bitch is really like, kind of like not really seeing the full scope of what's going on with her. So, I liked her because she has a lot of different angles she has to play. I really like that character a lot. Cersei's fucked up, and now that she doesn't have any kids, I guess there's one on the way, but she's lost any sense of having to be a certain way or good, whatever. So enjoying her character. Jaime's cool. I could go either way. I really like Brienne of Tarth or whatever. I love the Hound. The Hound is a great character. I love characters that walk that line of are they evil? Can they be turned? Are they good? Are they bad? Kind of thing. I'm a sucker for that. So the Hound I really like. Really enjoyed that guy. Who else? Sam, is that his name? Big, portly dude. Like him, good character. Gilly, is that her name? I love her because she was in that show Skins, that UK show. I think that was her, and I remember her from that. But she's great. They're both like adorable. Who else? I don't really care about. I never cared about what's his name, Littlefinger. I never. I felt like he was always conspiring. Well, obviously he was, but it was always something like this. Something bad. Here it is. Okay, I just felt like there wasn't really another side to him that was that interesting to me. A lot of the characters on that show would walk a line one way or the other, and you kind of would need to like take inventory and decide, do I like them or not? That guy I was never really interested in. So when he got killed off, I was like, fine, don't really care, kind of either way. Yeah, all those were good characters. I wrote some notes down, but I really think that kind of sums it up. I thought there was some good stuff, some stuff I didn't, care for. Like I said, the first couple seasons I didn't really care for too much. I thought it was, I thought the first couple seasons really relied on like, look what we can get away with. And I feel like that dissipated a little bit as the show went on. I mean, it kept some of the some of the racier shit, just to, whatever. It stayed shocking till the end, but I feel like it wasn't trying so hard as it was in the beginning, and it kind of just came into its own as an interesting show. So I really, like I said, season 4 is a legit fucking amazing season of a TV show, I thought. And 5 was good. 6 I thought was even better, and 7 was good. Again, like I will say this: I've never seen TV like it. Where it went in season 7, I think that's what it was, season 7. I'd never seen something on that scale for TV. I was really impressed by that. But again, I kind of wish it would throw me a few more. Something that made The Sopranos such a good show was it would disappoint you in extremely satisfying ways, if that makes sense. It would do stuff that, like, it wouldn't do what fans wanted or expected. They would do, oh, they're setting up this big thing, it's going to happen. Oh, the dude died. Well, I guess that's never going to happen. It would just feel like, what? How could they not do that? And so, I wish this last season, now that they're out of the book material, I feel like they're not doing that as much, maybe. I want something fucking crazy to happen. And I remember the other guys showed me this, and they said this back when it aired, but when they're doing that battle, it's the battle where, what's his name? Braun? Is that his name? Shit. I hope that's his name. Shoots that spear at Daenerys' dragon, and the dragon falls down, and then she's trying to pull the spear out of its shoulder, and then Jaime Lannister sees Daenerys, is like, oh, I'm fucking going after her. I'm coming out. And then he's like riding his horse really fast. And then right at the last second, the dragon gets in his face and just fires a mighty flame right at him. He should have died there. Like, what kind of fucking fucked up situation would we be if he just roasted Jaime Lannister right there? But Bronn saving him, it was like, oh, saved him at the nick of time. Da, 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 da. Like, I guess it's not bad. I guess you also kind of need Jaime around to be kind of the counterweight to the shit going on with Cersei. Maybe that wouldn't go as good if they outright killed him, but I don't know. I just feel like George R.R. Martin would have just fucking roasted that guy there. So I kind of see that angle. I see that angle, but at the same time, I thought it was all very entertaining, so I can't complain that much. You know what I mean? I'd never seen TV on that scale before, so I enjoyed it, and and good, really good effects too. I'm eager to look at a lot of the behind the scenes stuff online. But, yeah, I mean, very entertaining. I could go back and forth on some of the stuff I like or I don't. But I watched it all at once, so my context is different from people who waited years between seasons. You know what I mean? Because I was talking to Derek about that the other day, too. And he said, he was really harsh on season 6 and 7. But he's like, I had different expectations of it, given the length of time and length of time I discussed the stuff and, whatever. But didn't exist for me. I just watched it all as one thing. So that's my interpretation of it. So anyway, yeah, overall, super entertaining show. Overall, is it my favorite show? No. I think my favorite shows are more along the lines of Lost or The Leftovers or shit like that, where maybe there's a little more kind of shit to like fucking dissect and solve. I like shows that, like, make everyone's fucking brain cook. And I don't feel that way about Game of Thrones. I feel like the strength of Game of Thrones is its world building, and it's got entertaining characters, and a rad mythology. And mythology is kind of half of what I like in a show. It's not the most cerebral show with that mythology, but it weaves an interesting world and an interesting mythology that you want to talk about in the same way you want to talk about like Star Wars, where it's you're not necessarily getting into really deep, psychology shit, but it's entertaining in that comic book kind of way. Like, do you think this person's related to that person? Oh, I think that person came from here, and that's what this was talking about. It's a really, really well-woven mythology, well-woven world. That's what Game of Thrones has, and it was entertaining. So yeah, I'm really glad I checked it out, and now I can watch the final episodes as they air, which I love to do. This is exactly what I did with the Sopranos back in the day. I'd never seen any of it, and I think it was 2007 when the show ended. I watched all of it right up until the last batch, so I could watch those as it aired, and it was awesome. So I'm hoping this is cool too. I'm hoping these episodes are good. We'll see. I've just dated this video because people, in a few weeks are going to be like, yeah, we saw them. They were great, or they were shit. Oh my God. Why was Ed Sheeran in it? Why did he come back? Wait, why was Ed Sheeran in it? Why was Ed Sheeran in it?